What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Calvero. I am here in my glamorous bedroom studio. This is where all of the magic happens. And in case you didn't know, I just released a new song that I'm very proud of. It's called Didn't I Try Honey? In case you haven't heard it, go check it out. I'll leave some links in the description. And yeah, I wanted to celebrate the release by just making a video breaking down the process and showing you exactly how I made the song. And we'll nerd out and we'll go deep. Before we dive in, I did just want to say that if you enjoy this video, if you enjoy my music, if you like what I do, then please consider joining me at patreon.com/CalveroSings and becoming a patron. Patreon is the main way that I'm able to monetize what I do, and I'm really trying to grow that and have that be my main thing. So, you know, you'll get videos like this where I'm just breaking down and showing my process behind the scenes stuff, vlogs, demos, journals, playlists, lots of stuff. So if you're financially able and you like what I do, please consider joining me there. Again, that's patreon.com/CalveroSings, and I'll leave a link in the description. Without further ado, let us now open up Pro Tools and dig into how I made Didn't I Try Honey by Calvero, out now on all digital platforms. All right, so the whole thing started with just like a very basic piano. Just laying out the chords. Laying out the chords.
Since you've been gone, it's just me and my thoughts. Joined a dating app, but I'm mostly matching with bots.
So I did the whole song that way. I just had that piano, and then I tracked all the lead vocals. I'd actually, like, when I was writing the song, I had posted a video on TikTok using this piano as a backing track and just sang like the first verse and chorus of the song, and it got like really good reception, like unusually so for like when I'm sharing a work in progress on there. And so I thought, like, maybe this is all I need. Maybe I just need like that piano and some vocals and call it a day. Let's make it easy on myself. If you've watched some videos of breaking down other songs that I've made, you know that oftentimes I end up with hundreds of tracks and it's very dense. And I thought, like, maybe this will just be like very basic ballad, just piano ballad. And as you'll watch this video, you'll see it didn't quite pan out that way, but that was the intention. And so often what I like to do, I like to just get very basic production or just get the chords, track the lead vocals, and then contact some collaborators, get some other players involved and kind of see what they can add to it. So right away, what I wanted to do was I wanted to get my buddy Rami Atasi. Absolutely incredible guitar player. He's played guitar on a Black Rain and I Hate When I Think About You. And I told him that, like, for this song, I was really thinking about kind of like Tom Waits, and there's just like some great kind of like barroom ballads on Rain Dogs, like Blind Love and Downtown Train. And yeah, I just asked him to play some guitar, and so we got some of this.
Since you've been gone, it's just me and my thoughts.
So we got that guitar. You know, we're starting to get a nice little vibe now. Next thing I did was I contacted my buddy Brett Crow, who's like a bass player superstar over on TikTok. I've seen him do some videos with fretless bass. I love the sound of fretless bass. There's like a couple of Joni Mitchell records from the 80s where I think it's Jaco Pastorius even is playing fretless bass, and also like some Kate Bush songs that I really like that have the fretless. So he came through. That's what I'm talking about right there. Isn't that glorious? And another thing that's pretty cool is that, like, for the chorus, he did like this layer of the bass, like an octave lower. Like he was talking about like Tony Levin, who's bass player on like a bunch of these amazing Peter Gabriel records. So he laid down some of this stuff. So all together, that's really deep right there.
Under the freeway.
So as you can hear, a vibe is starting to form. And I was thinking like, hey, maybe this is close to done. Maybe we'll just keep it real simple. I think like another thing that I did here, let's see, try to keep my sessions pretty organized. Yeah, I added like an organ to kind of fill things up.
Since you've been gone, it's just me and my thought.
Yeah. And then I added some more. I added, I think, another organ for the chorus over here. Yeah, hear that?
Try, didn't I? Try, didn't I, honey?
So that was really starting to feel pretty good, and I sent it to my friend and collaborator Tim Smiley, who's mixed some stuff in the past, most of my stuff in the past for me, and I told him this was kind of like the beginning of like the production, and just wanted to know what he thought, if he thought it sounded good. And he said that it did sound good, but it sounded very open. You know, like if you listen over here.
In the lobby of
It sounds very full, but there's not a lot of movement because, as per my direction, the guitars are really just playing the chords. The bass is really just kind of like playing the root, which was by design. And the piano is just kind of open. So everything's open. There's not a lot of movement going on. So Tim had suggested that I ditch the demo piano and I actually get an actual piano player to play. And that proved to be a very good idea. As fate would have it, there's an amazing musician and producer named Sasha Sai, who I met on TikTok. And she had actually posted a cover song of my song I Hate When I Think About You. And she played the piano, and it was so beautiful and it was so perfect. And I was just like, hey, can I tap you in to play some piano on this? And I was thinking, as I said at the beginning, I was really inspired by like those Tom Waits ballads, particularly like like from his first couple records, those kind of like honky tonk sad bastard piano ballads. And I sent her some of that stuff, and she sent me back this. You know, which is just so beautiful. So now instead of everything being so open, replacing that demo piano with this, now we got. Here, let's get where the bass comes in. You know? So the next thing that I did was I contacted my buddy Jay Dawa, who's an amazing saxophone player, played the saxophone on I Hate When I Think About You, and I just asked him to play some sax. And what I did was, or he sent me a bunch of takes, and I kind of made a compilation of my favorite performances, and then you just kind of like have that sax coming in and out, you know? You know, so at this point, we're really cooking. You know what I'm saying? So now let's spend a little time and take a look at some of these vocals. If you know me, if you know my work, you know that I do a lot of layers of vocals. That's like my thing. And this song is no different. Here, let's kind of see what's going on over here. Yeah, so let's check out where some of these background vocals are.
Make it easier. All my friends said let it go.
Okay, so, you know, I did my thing and I recorded some harmonies over here. And if you know me, you know that I do a lot of layers. So each of these audio files that you'll see, this is anywhere from like 4 to 10 vocals bounced down into one audio file. So you've got one harmony that sounds like this.
Didn't I try, honey?
That's probably between 4 to 8, and then all together, it sounds like this.
Didn't I try, honey?
So that's real nice, right? So what I did to make it even thicker, there's a vocalist who I also met on TikTok who I just think is absolutely incredible. Her name is Rose Stoller. I think she's working on some solo music that's about to come out, but I just love her voice so much. And I wanted her to do some singing on here too. And so what I did was I just had her just double all of the harmonies that I was doing, you know? So you get this.
Didn't I try, honey?
It's kind of the same thing with all the layers where each of these audio files, remember, is multiple vocals bounced into one. So it's a lot of her, but when you combine that with me, then you get this.
Didn't I try, honey?
So things are getting real thick at this point. So like with everything into the mix, you know, we got.
Didn't I try, honey? Didn't I try, honey?
Yeah. So that's starting to sound pretty good. That's starting to feel pretty good. So I still felt like there's some more stuff to be done. Let's mute the vocals real quick. So like one thing, I was super inspired by Sasha's piano. And I wanted to just have some acoustic guitars, just kind of complement what she was doing. You know, if you listen to the piano, it's doing this. So nice. And so I just played some acoustic guitar to just kind of match that rhythm, essentially, and that feel. Oop. There we go. We'll save that wacky sound for later. Just kind of tucked in the background. So we've got that going on. So now all of a sudden... Another thing that I did that's kind of odd is I was listening to the song Heart of the Saturday Night by Tom Waits. And that was a song that sounded really interesting to me because it sounded like there was somebody who was like slapping their thighs or something, and that's what the percussion was doing. And so I wanted to do something similar and just kind of get some percussive sounds that was just really me stomping and clapping. And then I did a bunch of like compression and crazy shit to it. Nothing too crazy here. I printed a lot of it, but there's like sketch cassette, which as we go on, you'll see I use this a lot. Dusty drum machine setting over here. So let's check out, you know, you got this. Yeah, that's just me stomping and clapping. I compressed the crap out of it. Sounds like I printed it with a spring reverb. And then also just thigh slapping. Similar thing. And then I think this was a loop that I just got on Splice. Yeah, so the three of those... It's just super subtle to give it like a bit of a pulse. In the mix, you can barely hear it. But all together, you know, just adding it in sounds like this. You can barely hear it, right? But it gives that pulse. It gives it that pulse. So the next thing that I did that really filled things up and really started bringing it into place was I arranged some strings. I was also inspired by some of those early Tom Waits ballads, and let's see what we have here. There's some light processing. There's this plugin RC20. there's that plugin RC20 that just kind of like kind of warps it, gives it kind of a vintage sound, and that's really it. Then its own delay and reverb. Shout out Valhalla. Very lush. So it really fills out that top end and gives it that kind of like old school jazz ballad Sinatra feel. So at this point, I'm kind of like, I'm almost feeling like this is done, you know, like over here.
My friend said let it go, but they don't know that it was never logical to love you. And didn't I try, didn't I try, didn't I?
That's feeling pretty thick with 2 C's, if I do say so myself. I think there's like some other vocal stuff that before we get too in the weeds with the extra stuff that I added, that's just like, that's pretty fun to play soloed up, especially at the end.
That it was never logical to.
Let's go like over here. This is another another background vocal part that I love.
Didn't I try?
Starting to do some improvs. Yeah, so at that point, I'm feeling pretty great about where things are sitting. Now, one thing that I wanted to do, again, I'm saying that I was very much inspired by Tom Waits and some of those early songs like Heart of the Saturday Night, where if you listen to those recordings, there's actually like a lot of city sounds. You know, there's sounds from the city, and it kind of gives you that living, breathing feeling. And if you know me and my music, I really do try to create a physical space where these songs belong, and a lot of it is kind of like this kind of dreamlike version of a city somewhere between Chicago and New York and Tokyo. And I wanted to just kind of tuck some sounds in the background. And so if you see over here, L train, motorcycle rev, car horns, overpass, Chicago highway, these are all sounds that I got from Splice. And here, let's see if we can solo some of these out. And if you look at the faders, you'll see that it's being automated. What I did is I recorded myself automating the volume of each one as the song went on so that they're kind of weaving in and out. Now, for example, this over here, it sounds kind of dreamy, right? It doesn't necessarily sound like sounds of a bridge. The reason is that I took all of these sounds from the city, and then I used this really cool plugin called Paul X Stretch. I don't know if I'm going to demonstrate using it right now, but basically what it does is you can import an audio file, and then you can fuck around with it and stretch it out, and you can make it just, you can turn like a 30-second song or a 30-second soundbite into like 2 hours long. Like if you ever heard those videos of like stretching out a Justin Bieber vocal so it sounds like Sigur Rós, that's the sort of thing that I did. So you end up like getting these really nice ambient sounds out of cityscapes. I remember I showed some of it to Tim, my collaborator, and he thought that they were actual synthesizers. You know, so you're starting to get that physical space that I'm laying out in the, because, you know, the imagery of the song is really me just going through it walking around outside in a rainy, dark night at like 2 a.m., just going through my feelings, thinking things out. And so
All my friends said let it go, but they don't.
it's one of those things where you don't even necessarily hear it, you just kind of feel it. So at this point, I'm starting to feel pretty good about where things are at. Sending it to the collaborators, everyone's feeling good. Tim kind of challenged me and said that still sounded like there was room for some more ear candy and some kind of like some more interesting stuff to be added. He said that he heard like a vocal pad in the chorus, which I thought was interesting. And so just some ahs, that's kind of what a vocal pad is, just like a pad of vocals. And so I added this. Just really dreamy. And then as far as just I'm giving it that kind of like that vintage wobbly feel, giving it some delay, giving it some reverb, giving it this thing which gives it kind of like a top end sizzle. And I'm using this imager and just kind of giving it some width.
But it was never logical to love you. And didn't I try, didn't I try, didn't.
You know, so it's getting pretty dreamy. Then what I was starting to do was I was starting to take existing parts and just kind of feeling like I wanted to make them a little more interesting. For example, there's the bass of Brett playing the fretless bass. It was great, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a copy of that. And just give it some sketch cassette, you know, just like make it sound kind of gritty and weird. You know, it's all fucked up. But when you play them together, it just has like a little more character. So yeah, I started doing that. I did that with the acoustic guitar over here. That's the main acoustic guitar, and then I made a copy of it with also sketch cassette. Tim said, because Tim took a look at the song, I did end up mixing this one myself, but he saw it and he said, this is your sketch cassette song. So a copy of that acoustic guitar, you know, it's just totally mangling it. But it just has this cool, very almost melancholy. And then yeah, I did that for like this is also a cool plugin by the same company that did sketch cassette. This is called Digitalis. And it also just kind of mangles it. So I took like an organ. This is the original organ, right? And then this copy of it, just doing this. just adding texture. It's just adding texture. So then what I wanted to do was I felt like there was still more fun to be had, even though this felt like a great foundation. And so I just did one final day of just playing around in Ableton. I use Pro Tools, Ableton, and Logic. Basically, my workflow right now is that I like to use Pro Tools for editing vocals, for recording vocals. I use Pro Tools for mixing. We're actually looking at the mix session, so I just love the way I'm able to organize, and the routing and everything. It's just very clean for me. But I like to do a bunch of the weird experimental stuff and drums and stuff. I like to do that in Ableton. So let's check out Ableton. Okay, so now we are in Ableton. One of the first things that I did was I took this audio, if you recall me finger-picking acoustic guitar. Right? One thing that's really cool that you can do in Ableton, I think you can do this in Logic too, but you can do convert melody to new MIDI track, and it will analyze that audio file and turn it into MIDI. So if you see over here, these are MIDI notes, and that's basically what it analyzed the audio was. and I just tweaked it a little bit. I quantized it, and then I opened up this Spitfire Labs. This is a free plugin, by the way, that had these guitar harmonics. So it sounds like this. I just think it's so beautiful, especially. You know, it's not exactly the same as what the acoustic guitar, but that's kind of the point. It's kind of like this pointed, kind of randomized sound. And then I just used some plugins to make the harmonic sound a bit more interesting to me. So it went from this to this. Using Digitalis over here, you can see you've got a cat. Just cutting out some low end, giving it some tape saturation, and then I think giving it some wow and flutter, and then giving it some reverb through this nice little plugin from Audio Thing called Texture. Then I just started adding some extra stuff. I added some stuff with Hive, which is one of my favorite synthesizers, one of my favorite soft synths from Yuhi. That hydrony thing. Kind of weird out of context. And then I love this sound. It's kind of like a sax sound. So another thing that I did was I opened up this plugin in Ableton Suite called the Granulator 2, and it's basically like a granular synthesis, I suppose. And if you see here, this audio file is called Rose Who. So I took this audio file of Rose singing Who from the song, and I put it through this granulator, and I messed around with some knobs, and it sounds like this. And what's cool about this is that, like, for whatever note you play, you're going to get a different result and different movement and a different range. So this note over here, really low, it's low and it's slow, but an octave higher. So it's just a really cool effect. Now, the next thing that I did was I created a bit of a vocal chop with Rose's vocals from her singing Didn't I Try Honey? And what you can do is you can kind of slice up the audio file so that each syllable you can play on the MIDI keyboard. So each of these slices is a different note that you can play, trigger different things. And I set it up so that each slice has its own kind of like pitch modulation or its own effects. And so I've just played it on the keyboard. It sounds like this. So I just added these things, and I was starting to feel like it was like just a really cool vibe, just that, without the rest of the song in context. And so what I did is there's a way in Ableton that you can kind of make a sample of everything going on. So you can record everything in the session onto its own audio file. So I did that with this. So I now have an audio file that's just everything that's playing all together. Right, so that's cool. And so what I did was I ended up taking this audio file over here, I copy and pasted it over here, and then what I did was I kind of went into the audio file and I changed the key. So I made it like 2 half steps lower, and I also slowed it down. So I lowered the BPM by 5 or 10, and what that does is it makes it feel just kind of like more stretched out and dreamy and warped like this. It's gooey, right? And this right here, this ended up being the intro of the entire song, which I will demonstrate right now what I did with it. And so what I did for this intro, I have the audio over here. You see that the volume is starting to raise. And then I just gave it that sketch cassette. As you can see, if you pay attention to this depth knob over here, this is something called dropouts, which makes it sound like it's disrupted, it's losing signal. I'm automating it, so it's starting to get more crunchy. And I believe I also did that. You see, if you look at the mix knob over here, getting more of that delay until it just like disintegrates into the delay. I did the same thing with that reverb. See? Look at that mix knob. Dissolves.
Since you've been gone, it's
dissolves into the song. So yeah, like as far as like some other stuff that I added at the very end, I basically was using that Pollock stretch plugin, and I was stretching out some other sounds. Like I took Sasha's piano and stretched it out and chopped it up and had it sound like this. So it creates this very beautiful ambient wash. I did the same thing with Rose's vocals and created this. That's just a nice atmosphere, especially when you bring the strings in. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that's really it. I mean, after that, this is pretty much everything. It's pretty much everything right here.
I should call my
All right, everyone. So that is how I made my song, Didn't I Try Honey? I hope you like the song. I hope you like the video. Go stream it. Go tell your friends. If you did like this video, again, please consider joining me at patreon.com/CalveroSings, where you can support everything that I do, and you can also get more cool videos like this. I think I'm going to like share some stuff that didn't make the cut in this OG video over on Patreon. So go check it out. Link in the description for the song and that and other stuff too. And yeah, we did it. We did it.